Hello and welcome to this live broadcast from True Fire Studios. Today we have Gina Mendello in the studio with us, and we've got something a little bit different for everybody. That if you're a solo guitarist, a working musician, or a singer-songwriter, I think you're going to find today's broadcast very, very valuable. You are not watching Gina Mendello. You're actually watching Christy Lene, who is one of Gina's artists. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Gina and True Fire, we've worked together for many, many years. We started working together with Tommy Emmanuel because Gina managed Tommy for a very long time. And she's been managing solo guitarists and singer-songwriters for, 20 years or something like that. Was marketing manager at Sony Music Australia for 7 years. Met Tommy there, began managing Tommy in 2000. Continued to do so, I think 14, 15 years, something like that, Gina. Managed Jesse Cook for 4 years. Today, manages Australian guitarist Daniel Champagne and international fingerstyle guitar champion Christy Lene, who, as you can tell by just watching this opening video, is also a very, very talented, incredible singer-songwriter. We asked Gina if she would be willing to come in and talk about a topic that we know is very near and dear to all of the young artists that we work with, whether they're singer-songwriters, solo guitarists, and you know, I think all of the principles that you'll talk about today apply really to any musician. And she said yes, and flew down here from Nashville to do this thing with us. And she put together a list she calls 10 career hacks for solo guitarists and singer-songwriters. And we're going to run through those today. Gina, welcome.
Great to be here.
So, thank you for coming down. I know it's kind of like, it's crazy to fly down just to do this 1 hour broadcast, but I think it's important. I know that we have a lot of folks that are very interested in navigating the new business landscape. And I love your list of 10 hacks. We'll get to that in a minute, but let's start with, so, you and I, when did we start working together? It was maybe 10 years ago, or
a little farther back than that, and we started with the instructional series for Tommy.
Right, and he was already pretty well-established artist at that time. But can you, in just synopsize, if you will, how you got his career kind of ignited, if you will?
Well, he was already a big star in Australia, and people knew him there. Here in the United States, it was pretty much established through the Chet Atkins Appreciation Society convention. All the people there, when he got the CGP award, invited him all over the country. Mm-hmm. And we started setting up those shows and doing promotion, seeking out promotional opportunities wherever we could find them on local radio and local TV, and we got them. Set up a PBS special that made a huge difference. Mm-hmm. And from there, grew his career basically one fan at a time, ever larger audiences. People would always invite, 20 people the next time they came. It was huge. Yeah,
and he is, today, a few would argue that he's probably the most accomplished, well-known, exciting solo guitarist on the planet.
That's
I can't really think of anybody else, you know. So what was it like? Let's talk about the difference between the old music business and today's music business for an artist desiring to have a career as a working musician.
Well, it's all about the digital age. Pre-digital age, we had to, even in the early days, have black and white photos and slides and mail things out and mail CDs out. We needed to have a record deal. You couldn't just make records, CDs back then. We needed to employ publicists and professionals to get to media outlets because there just was no access. The internet wasn't that big yet. We were on MySpace, that was the big thing.
I remember that.
MySpace, that was, and we were really excited to have fans on MySpace, but really, if we didn't have a label and we didn't have all of the kind of old school media tools, it wasn't going to happen. And we worked really hard to get them. I mean, I was offering his fan base $10,000 cash to get him on any TV show by writing in, because people said, why aren't you on Letterman and Leno back then? It's like, go ahead and try. I'll give you $10,000 cash if you can do it. Nobody could do it because those are closed doors. Those are, if everyone lines up behind Paul McCartney, you know what I mean? It's like hard.
Which is crazy when you think about, somebody as talented, not just as talented as Tommy is as a performing artist, but he's so entertaining on the stage as well. It's incredible. So today, what do you think are the most significant changes in the music business today for any artist?
Well, it's social media. That's it. And it's all that now. It's all about social media because all the other outlets are going away. We used to advertise in local news and radio when we'd have a gig, and it just doesn't work. There's no newspapers anymore. The radio stations are all commercial. It's very, it's a very different landscape.
And what about labels? The old rule of thumb was you had to get a label. If you wouldn't make it unless you had a label. Is that still true today, do you think?
Well, it used to be that the labels would take you from down there to up there. Now they expect to get you here. They expect you to do a lot of the work yourself initially to see if there's a groundswell, to see if you're going to make it. A lot of record companies purposely distribute things like The Voice and American Idol, and they want to see who's working before they invest money. They don't have that money anymore because, CDs aren't so much of a thing so much anymore. It's all streaming. So the return has diminished, and they can only do sure things now. That's all they can do. If you think about singer-songwriters, who's the biggest one right now? Well, it's got to be Ed Sheeran. You reverse engineer that, and the only reason why he's good, of course he is, Taylor Swift tweeted about him. 5 million people on Twitter heard about him. Well, boom, he's big. So you've got to ask yourself, who can tweet about me if you want that kind of success? And it's all about leveraging influencers and gaining fans and engaging. It's a whole new landscape.
It's a whole new landscape. For anyone that's tuned in live and on the chat, encourage you. One shout out if you are in fact a performing or aspiring singer-songwriter or solo guitarist. And I know Gina would be more than happy to answer any of your questions. So chime in and let us know where you're from. Even if you're not a singer-songwriter, we always love to hear where everybody's from on the chat thread there. So, we have, Gina, so many artists come through the doors here at TrueFire. And, we've been doing the TrueFire thing, as you know, for about a little over 20 years now. So we've definitely seen this, we've been there when labels were still important, and they were A&R guys and promotion. And man, I know a lot of the older artists that we work with that have had a career with labels. Social media, they couldn't even spell it, let alone embrace it, right? There are artists that have embraced it now, are doing it, and have noticed that it has a really remarkable effect on their career. At the same time, there's a lot of artists that just don't do it, some of them are waiting for the phone to ring, right? Now, on the other hand, all of the younger artists, You manage Daniel Champagne. You manage Christy Linné. Both of them are also True Fire artists, just like Tommy. They get it right out of the box. They know what it is that they have to do, you know? And you can see them even when they're in session here. They're taking pictures. They're, you know, they're sending out Instagrams or they're tweeting or, you know, and that's how they stay connected and build their audience, you know, one fan at a time, right? So, you know, what would you consider to be, before we get into the 10 career hacks, and I love this list, and even if you're not a performing artist, I think you're going to dig this list because it'll give you an understanding of, you know, number one, how challenging it is to be a working musician, but also what successful working musicians are doing to get to the point where you're going to hear about them somehow, you know, and become a fan. What globally are top priorities for young artists today, or even older artists, you know?
Well, you got to get out there and do gigs. You've got to get the gigs. And, you know, a lot of times artists think that the most important question is, how good are you? But really, the most important question is, how many people are going to come to your show? Because these are venues that make their money off of admissions or drinks or whatever they make their money off of. And if nobody's there, nobody makes any money.
Yep.
And you're going to spend money to get there and not make any money once you get there. So having the gigs, and more importantly, getting people to come to the gigs. That's it.
So let's go through. I have your 10 career hacks here. Can I shout them out to you and
Sure.
have you comment them?
Sure.
So the number one career hack for solo guitarists and singer-songwriters is go to venues. You know, even if you're not playing, go to venues and festivals as an attendee and get the lay of the land. Talk to that.
Well, exactly. A lot of people say, well, I applied to festivals and didn't get any answer, and I don't know who to write to. Dear Mr. Festival, you know, who do you write to? If you actually go and, you know, you can find out who the organizers are, maybe meet them, talk to them, jam with all the other people there, especially music festivals for musicians, guitar festivals.
Yeah.
Meet the artists who are at the festival. Basically use it as a networking opportunity. And then write to them and say, hey, we met at this festival. I'd like to submit my music. Much better chance of getting some attention if they know you.
Yeah, that's such a great bit of advice that I can personally testify. I've gone to Folk Alliance over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I know you take your artists there, right? I will tell you that I had no idea that that existed before 3 years ago. And yet, it's been going on for a very, very long time. This last one was in Montreal. Last year was in Kansas City. I think the next one is
New Orleans.
New Orleans, right? And like 3,000 attendees. All of them were either solo guitarists or solo acts, you know, not necessarily even guitar, singer-songwriters by the hundreds, and venues and managers and people interested in the business. It was one massive, highly organized, incredible networking affair for 3-4 days, right? And to your point, there were people who were in showcases, you know, and you know, would get a lot of gigs just by showcasing what they do in front of, you know, people that might book them or want to sign them or otherwise, you know, work with them. But the vast majority of the people there were not performing. They were there to network, okay? And it could be in a hall. They were there to learn. They were there to collaborate and talk and learn from other artists, you know, which ties into, we'll get to that hack in a minute. But your second hack, find a flexible day job, you know, in quotes, related in some way to the music business or to a skill set that you need for your own career building. So talk about what kind of, well, number one, obviously people need a way to earn some money while they're building their career. But what are some types of jobs that might make sense for a solo guitarist or a singer-songwriter?
Well, you need to have some time to get away to your gigs, so it should be fairly flexible. But just what you're doing, Brad. TrueFire creates videos, creating video content and putting it on YouTube, and you can monetize YouTube. And people have made a lot of money off of YouTube and doing things like that. Obviously, creating your music and getting it, getting it on the streaming services. It's so easy to do nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. But keep the content coming and coming and coming.
Yeah.
Then when it comes to other things that you need to do, make sure it's flexible. Make sure you can go on tour at a moment's notice, get a gig at a moment's notice. And, then you're looking at other things outside of that, like, everything from Uber and Lyft to, other passive income jobs you can get where you can just leave.
Yeah, we have a lot of the younger artists that come in here who are extraordinarily talented, do work in studios,
Studios.
Some of them engineer. We just had a couple artists out of Nashville that are doing flexible hours at some of the publishing houses there. We just had someone in last week that is honing their production skills by working for a video production company out in California, just learning how to film. We'll talk about that hack in a minute. But, that's a really good advice because you've got to make money, while you're building your career. And if you can make money doing something connected to your passion and to your career in music, all the better, right? Your third career hack for solo guitarists and singer-songwriters is, I love this one, and I really believe in this one too, find a mother, father, friend to become a business partner, like you did with Tommy, Talk about that. What, do you literally mean mother, father, friend?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, there are a lot of young artists out there who have momagers, which are mothers who are doing management for their kids or younger artists because they can't do it themselves. What I did with Tommy, he basically said, look, there's not much money yet, but, and I said, look, you don't need to tell me, about your future. I believe in it. And he goes, but I can pay you like a salary or something like that to make it worth it for you. And I'm like, look, fine, great, whatever works. Because I knew that what would happen, it happened in Australia. And if you can find that person, it's a business deal. It's like, if you spend all your time learning how to support me, I'll split the money with you after expenses. And you need to do that initially because they're going to be working really hard. They're going to be doing all of that stuff to get you set up on the gigs and promoting the gigs and all that stuff. It could be a full-time job. It was for me.
Yeah.
And you're going to be honing your skills and doing videos and doing promotion and stuff like that. So it is a partnership.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people out there you can go to. You could even, if you have a crazy fan, like one that's not too crazy, but who really loves you and wants to help you, say, hey, do you want to work for me?
Yeah.
And it works out well.
Yeah. When internet became a thing and artists had to have web pages, I would bet you dollars to donuts that 95% of the websites designed for artists were done by a fan of that artist who had some HTML skills,
You're exactly
front
right.
page skills. Remember front page, And what's true is. You read the article and you really liked that Ellis Paul article.
Yeah.
And we did 50, and your artists are featured in there, 50 gifted singer-songwriters you should know, which is our magazine Riff Journal. You can go to riffjournal.com and find 50 incredible singer-songwriters that we've profiled and links to music and all that good stuff, right? And the feature article in that magazine was by Ellis Paul. And one of the points that he made, because he's been around since back in the days, also when there were labels, when there were managers, when people were throwing money, he had hit songs, this, that, and the other thing. He has soundtracks, and he's seen the whole business change, just not overnight, but pretty darn quickly, right? So he makes a point of you are now, you're not just a singer-songwriter, you are a media company. Your media, your content are the songs and music that you produce, but you're responsible for everything, right? And the other point he made is you can't do everything by yourself,
No.
you know? So for, artists that are lucky enough to find someone that believes in them, that has the time to do that. That's why Mother is an obvious choice. But we're starting to see a lot of managers out there that will think of it as a business proposition. They won't necessarily work with a lot of artists. They'll pick one or two, and they go into business with that artist. Joe Bonamassa, I think, is a great example.
Yeah.
Roy Weissman is the manager of Joe Bonamassa. Roy is, I think, a really brilliant young manager. His father, Elliot Weissman, managed Frank Sinatra and Don Rickles. But Roy decided, I am just going to focus on Joe Bonamassa's career, and we are going to be partners. And this is the business we're in. And Joe, you're going to go out there, perform, you're going to do the content, you're going to be the artist, and I'm going to handle the business side, okay? And look at Bonamassa's career. Just like Tommy blew up because he had somebody like he had you, not somebody like you, taking care of that, right? So I think more than ever, if I were to guess what the future holds, the successful artists of tomorrow will not have labels. They won't have business managers. They will have alternative business partners. We're going to talk at the end of this about your very cool, I think it's a revolutionary kind of approach to this, certainly for a young and aspiring artist, But ultimately, you can't do everything by yourself. You can't do all the booking, all the promotion, all the social media, all the website, and write your material and go out there and you cannot do it yourself. So you have to find someone to do it. So call your mother, father, or friend. Start there.
Exactly.
It's your hack.
If you come from a wealthy family, or you've got some kind of massive Kickstarter or something like that, but you need money, and you need to invest in yourself.
Right. Exactly. Number 4, you have cultivate synergistic relationships with other musicians in other cities and countries. And not so coincidentally, it's one of the things Ellis also talked about in his article, how important it was to find mentors, people that have been there, done it, to give you career advice. But even your peers, even other young aspirants, and sharing and interacting, which of course foots to the new thing that you're doing. You're enabling that kind of interaction. But talk to that a little bit. The value of having relationships with other artists that are doing what you're doing.
Well, a perfect example is I book a duo out of Australia called Hussey Hicks, and they spent a lot of time touring in Europe. And Daniel Champagne wanted to go to Europe. And so he said, hey guys, who would book me in Europe? And they said, here's a list this long. And he was able to get some gigs out of it that are tried and true venues that want singer-songwriters.
Right.
And also, we've done a lot of swap outs with different artists and say, I tell you what, we'll invite you to our country if you invite us to yours. And there's things like visas that you got to get sorted out, but still, if you want to make a career, it's best to do it with somebody who already has an audience and then join them on their tours. And not even as a support act. Like it'd be great to get support acts on major acts, yes, of course. But if they have even a nice little fan base, and they can introduce you to their fan base, now you can share fan bases. And that's what you want to do. You want to share fan bases with as many artists as you can.
Well, and a great illustration of that is you would have Tommy go and do a lot of festivals in Europe, right? The Suave Guitar Festival is one great example.
Suave.
And through personal connections, there was no like business agent going and having, lunch with them. Personal relationships led to Frank Vignola coming one year to Suave, which led to Frank doing a lot of touring and camps with Tommy, which then led to Frank getting booked himself with his own band, a perfect I think, illustration and example. So, the wider your own personal network is really what you're saying. The wider that is, the broader that is, the more opportunities will present themselves.
And it mainly requires a generosity of spirit. You have to genuinely want to help them. It can't be all about you. You want to help them, they want to help you, and you create teams, with the musicians that you work with.
And Tommy is quite a generous artist, isn't he?
Totally.
He'll give up half his own set to feature somebody that he thinks needs or deserves to be heard. All right. 5, the 5th hack is which you've mentioned, but let's talk about it more, like gig as much as possible, even as a sideman, get experience performing live, and then streamline and automate your booking and contracting. Talked about those things.
Well, exactly. First of all, if you can join a band, great. Because then, if they're a well-known band, Jed Hughes is a young singer-songwriter from Australia who's opening for Vince Gill, but he plays in Vince's band. I mean, there's been a lot of instances like that where the sideman steps forward. Christy plays with a band called Hudost, and when they're booked, she does a solo set. Things like that happen all the time. But if you're going to play yourself, automating is very important. Write this down, guys. Gmass. It's a Chrome attachment for the Chrome browser, and it's like a merge mail for your Gmail. And you can get a Google Sheet and put lists of first name, last name, email address of every booking person you can get the name of. And you can write a personal email to that booking person. Dear John, I'm coming to wherever on these dates. Here, I have a lot of fans in your market. I'd love to get a show. And I say I have a lot of fans in your market because they're listening for who's going to come to the show. So you send out that email, but on GMass you can automate follow-ups to come out anytime, a week later or 3 days later. Hey, John, just following up. Hey, John, I've just done a new video. Just circling back again, I've got some new dates. Do you have this date or that date? And then you push the button and it just happens. And the minute they respond, the chain stops. But you can do that and send that letter that looks fairly personal to hundreds of booking venues all over the country or world, and just wait. And that saves a whole lot of time, and that's what I mean by automation.
Yeah.
You can also automate your social media with things like Hootsuite and things like that.
Yeah. There's all those tools where you can upload to various, one post to various social media platforms. So that's really good advice because of what we've been saying. There's so much to do. Anything that you can do to save a little time so that you can take care of other important things, including writing a new song,
Right.
is good for you. And so, technology can be a very powerful thing with tools like that, and automation and, streamlining the work you need to do to promote yourself. I have Ken Newton, who's on the chat here, and from Oklahoma. How you doing, Ken?
Hey, Ken.
Says it's all social media. I've found so many artists on YouTube, So, we know that a lot of artists are embracing YouTube. We know that a lot of artists did it from the start and a lot of artists did it late. But a lot of artists are still not doing it, which is kind of incredible because so many of us, myself included, we discover new music, new artists, so much on social media channels. So thanks for chiming in. We also have Lucky D from Belgium. We've got Gerardo from Roma, Italy. Ciao.
Ciao, buongiorno.
So keep your questions coming. I'm going to ask you one question here from Wish Nayak, I believe. He's from India, Bangalore. I'm a
Yeah, you are.
musician in general. I play piano and guitar, sing some cover songs. What advice can you give that would help me start and become a good singer-songwriter? So he's really he's right at the beginning.
Okay, well, cover songs are a great way in because you can get gigs at venues that want just cover songs. That's all they really want. If you want, you can start introducing your own music, but find one venue in your town. You're in Bangalore. Say there's one coffee shop or place where you can show up once a week or twice a week and just play. And start collecting fans. That's really what you want to do, collect fans. Make some YouTube videos of yourself playing. And remember, presentation is everything. Don't just go in your pajamas and do a video sitting down like this, not looking at the camera. Do a video. Sit in front of the camera, look good, play well, communicate with your audience, and then share. Share it. Also, it doesn't hurt to invest just a little money in, Google AdWords is paying for YouTube advertising or Facebook advertising. Now, it's a little complicated, but I'll give you a clue here. Here's a hack. Facebook and YouTube will talk to you if you spend money with them. It's kind of hard to talk to them if you don't, but you can call Google AdWords and talk to them for an hour, and they will tell you how to set up an ad to promote music. I called them and said, I only want to do two things. I want to get people to gigs, and I want people to hear music. What do I need to do? And they're like, you need to spend a minimum of $300. I said, fine. Tell me what to do. And they did. And you can do that too. So promote yourself with advertising. Keep engaging in putting new content out every couple of days or weeks. Talk to your audience. There's a girl who does a YouTube Live, not a YouTube Live, but a Facebook Live every morning at 9 a.m. and it's like breakfast with Dawn. And she puts a tip jar on there. And she made like $71,000 just doing tip jar on Facebook Live. So, you need to fund your operation and you need to reinvest in yourself and how to do things. And if you don't have a lot of money and you say, well, I'm too poor to do that. Well, if you're too poor to invest in yourself, then get used to staying that way because you've got to learn, you've got to keep improving yourself, and you've got to pay for things that people need to pay for, promotion and advertising on top of sharing and engaging.
Very good. Well said. Rob Byron asks, for selling, can you sell off of YouTube as an unknown artist?
If you invest in advertising, yes. You got to be able to know how to advertise on YouTube.
We certainly, practice what you're preaching right there. We put out, and a lot of artists do this as well, but we have a very large YouTube subscription base. I don't know, it's north of 350,000 subscribers. And they all know that every time we launch a new project here, we put 5 or 6, sometimes 7 full-length videos out there. We're not doing samples, we're not doing excerpts, we're putting the real deal out there. And if they like what they see and hear, they're more likely to come and purchase the whole course, right? In much the same way, artists are putting out, homemade videos, sort of like what, Christie's was. That was a homemade video, That wasn't a $50,000 video production, and I thought it looked really good, You put those out on YouTube, you get the links to come back to maybe where you buy the album, although they're probably going to stream it, right?
Stream it.
But what's more important is maybe that gets the person to your gig. Maybe
That's it.
gets you that fan, right?
That's it.
Which brings us to, this number 6 career hack: cultivate champions and superfans in every city. What is that?
Absolutely, and that's what I was saying about what happened with Tommy. When he played at the Chet Atkins convention, there were people from all over the country, and they were all saying, come to my town in Oklahoma. I have lots of friends, and there's a wonderful woman. Her name is Rhonda Smith. I'm going to give her a big shout out because she's awesome. In Oklahoma City, she literally went into clubs with flyers and said, I'm putting on a show. This guy's amazing. You have to come. And she says, here's my email address. Well, they wrote to her, and she had the name of every person who ever bought a ticket to one of his shows. She never had to advertise because she kept doubling on that. That person in that market is your champion. They're going to leverage media. They know who the media are. They have friends. They have friends who have friends. And, you know, they can fill up a room pretty quickly if they're that passionate.
We have a good friend of True Fires, guy by the name of Fran Snyder, and he was one of the pioneers of house concerts.
Yep.
Right? Do you know him?
Oh, I know Fran. Yeah.
Okay, and it's exactly what you're talking about. You have everyday people. They're not necessarily musicians, but they're fans of music. Will have an artist come and play in their home to 30 or 40 of their friends, right? And, you know, the artists will make, I think most of it is by donation, you know. They'll make as much money and sometimes more money than they would at a venue or a club. More. They'll sell merchandise, you know, some CDs, they'll sign and whatever. The hosts have, you know, this is such a great thing to do that's outside, come on over for a barbecue kind of a normal thing. The people that attend absolutely love it. It's up close, it's personal, it's intimate. And most important for the artist, they walk away with 30 or 40 new fans and one super fan, one champion, you know. So I think that's a paradigm today as well of new things who, you know, people wouldn't think of doing that 20 years ago, go and playing in somebody's home. But there are now singer-songwriters in particular that probably do more of those than anything else and probably are making a better living from those than playing a club or something. Do you like those house concert things?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And if they're that passionate, they'll graduate you from that to, we started with that and graduated to putting them, you can't fit in my living room anymore, so my church has a room, and I'll come play at my church, and I'll tell my church about it. And, you know, well, you get some congregations to your shows, you're looking at some seriously good numbers.
Absolutely. And then I believe Fran is also getting ready, does an annual large concert with, in fact, I remember seeing both Christy and Daniel at last year's at the big Palladium, you know, tremendously successful, you know. So it's kind of this notion, this career hack of finding superfans and finding champions is not as hard as somebody would imagine, because there are so many people willing to do that if they love your music, right?
Well, exactly, and it's especially good to do on social media. If you've got a fan constantly engaging and saying how awesome you are, talk to that fan, you know, and say, where are you from? What's a good venue to play? Hey, I'm coming to your town. Can you recommend, you know, what I should do to get the word out? And if they really love you, they'll do everything from offer you a place to stay, which is always nice, to talking to the venue, putting up posters for you. You know, they love you. They want to help you. And we've enlisted these people all over the, you know, literally all over the world. Daniel is great at that. He must know the name of every fan he has, because whenever he does a live stream, he's like, hey, Jake, hey, Bob, hey, Gary, you know, can't wait to see you in Ottawa. He's amazing.
Yeah. It's such a different world than what it was just 20 years ago.
I know.
You know? Some more input from our friends of the fire that have chimed in. Gilbert Davis, who we call Gadlaw, because that's his username. How are you, Gilbert? He says, he didn't know whether we covered this tip or not, but I think this is a really good tip. He says, stay non-political on social media unless you're a protest song singer. Don't half your possible fan base. What do you think of that?
Well, let's just say if something's really wrong, you should definitely stand up for it, but don't point fingers at people. Just say, you know, killing is wrong, because killing is wrong. You know, there's nothing wrong with taking a stand about racism or killing, or, you know, because if you have friends that are racists or killers, you probably don't want them as fans.
True.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like you can stand for the cause, but getting political and blaming people won't help you. And it makes you look angry, and you don't want to give off angry energy. You want to give off positive energy, and what you want in these causes is for the world to change.
Yeah.
Please, everybody, let's eliminate racism. Please, everybody, let's stop shooting each other. That's who you want to be. You don't want to say, I hate that guy, or I hate that woman, or that person's wrong, or this group is wrong.
Right. I'm trying to remember, there was a pretty well-established group. I think there were 3 singers. I can't remember their name. I probably should mention their name, but they made a really bold, pointing fingers statement, and it totally
Ruin their career.
ruined it.
For a while, you know.
Yeah. People have short memories, I guess. But, you know, good advice, Gilbert, and thanks for that, man. Danny Trent is asking, which is the best social media platform for musicians nowadays? It's funny because I remember MySpace, you know. That was the joint. That's where you
That's
went.
what it was,
and then
yeah.
it became this big. And, you know, they've tried to come back now, and I don't know, hopefully they will get back. We can always use more cool platforms for artists. But he's asking, is it YouTube? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Or is it all those things?
Yes. And there's a new one that's really coming on strong. That's TikTok. And it's amazing because I started talking about TikTok months ago, and all my clients were like, what? No, it's for kids. No, it's not, because Old Town Road, the little Nas song, blew up on TikTok, got him a record deal, the whole thing. And so TikTok's the new thing. It's like little 15 to 30-second video, Instagram type stuff. So I'm telling everybody out there, if you don't know about TikTok, download the app and just start TikToking. It's great.
And yeah, don't discount kids in your audience. If you've ever seen a live concert of Ed Sheeran, go look who's in the audience.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Taylor Swift.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's Bunny Barnes is asking, how do you do
Bunny.
a tip jar live?
You get a paypal.me. If you have a PayPal account, there's a little abbreviated account link called paypal.me. And then in the text of your opening of Facebook, you just say, hey, you can give me a tip at paypal.me. And then people can just click on it.
Very cool. Uruguay just chimed in. Hey, Tommy, if you could put together all the geo for me, and I'll shout out to everybody. Let's see. Is it Rob Byron S? Is it just social media? If you want to sell to TV, etc., don't you need to do it on social media? How do you get to TV? You were talking about how can you get on TV? Do you need to get on TV?
Well, there's a certain level at which they will invite you. Basically, the major network television shows are extremely competitive. Every multi-million-dollar film company and music company with multi-million-dollar projects are ahead of you. And so they're going to get on first unless something extraordinary happens. And extraordinary things happen all the time. There was a little Chinese boy named Feng Yi out of Taiwan, started playing Tommy covers of classical gas on YouTube and everywhere else. And Ellen saw it. And Ellen flew him to Hollywood.
Really?
And the little 12-year-old boy was on Ellen. And then she flew him there again. He's been on
God.
Ellen twice,
That's
and
great.
we asked Feng, hey Feng, tell Ellen about Tommy, because that's your version of his music that you're playing, you know?
That's funny. In fact, didn't another young artist that we work with, remarkable Joe Robinson,
Joe, yeah.
right? He won America's Got Talent,
Australia's Got
Australia,
Talent.
playing
Yeah.
Tommy's version of
Classical
Gas,
Gas, yeah.
right? Okay, another question here. This is Jorge from Mexico City. What about the media production values on the internet, video and audio? I've seen artists that don't care that much and others that are great. Do they have an impact on your base?
Well, yeah, if you take things seriously and you really put thought into it and you light it properly, and that here's a little hack for you: download an app on your phone called Wish, and then put in the search bar photography lighting. You can get little lighting kits for like $50 that'll really give you some good lighting and backdrops and things like that. Put a little effort into it. I mean, like I said, if you're going to play in front of in your pajamas and not look at the camera, yeah, your music may be really good,
Right.
but why not try?
Yeah, it's really interesting. If I can kind of add on to that, we've found that, audiences really feel more connected sometimes to a video that has, let's call it, low production value. I'm not talking about bad lighting necessarily, but it doesn't look like it was done like in our TrueFire studios, If you have courses that we produce, we're going to do them very high production value here in the studio, Hollywood lighting, the whole number. But, the channels that we do or private lessons feel like you're connected to that person in their home practice studio or in, it gives you more of that cinema verite kind of a vibe to it, So I would add that on because we're certainly finding that sometimes trying to go super high production doesn't get you where you want to go. It depends on the platform and what it is that you're doing. Let's see. Let's do another hack, okay? Oh, I love this hack. Okay. Career hack number 7 for solo guitarists and singer-songwriters is create passive income streams. You talked a little bit about this, but I'm going to make you talk a lot more about it. I might even give a couple of examples via things like online courses, vlogs, private lessons, YouTube. Talk about that.
Well, that's it. All of these opportunities, you can hang things online and monetize them. And monetizing your work is really ultimately what you want to do. There's so many opportunities to do that and to promote it. TrueFire has got all of that going on, and that's one of the places you might want to go. But even if you want to do it on your own, you can get that passive income coming in where people are just downloading. Find something really cool that you can do, like cascading harmonics or something like that. It's like, here is my best cascading harmonics video. And then promote it, and anybody who wants to learn how to do that will pay however much money. And all of a sudden you'll look in your account and there'll be a lot of people paying however much money for that. And you haven't done anything. You've done it once, and then the money keeps coming in,
The I always sort of myself trip out on this, for, I don't know, tens of thousands of years, if you were a musician, you didn't make your living doing concerts and records, okay? You made your living teaching others, okay? And teaching, whatever the art is, painting, dance, and certainly music, is how that art stays alive from one generation to another is through teaching. So we believe that, to teach music, you don't need to be a professor of music and talk about modes and scales and theory. You just need to kind of pass on your perspective of how you hear and see music, how you visualize the fretboard, and you don't have to use any technical stuff, which is another way of saying any artist out there, any solo guitarist, any singer-songwriter has something to contribute educationally to the world at large, right? So I want to, hey, Tommy, am I able to show a couple of video things? So you brought Tommy in, and Tommy had done some educational stuff before, but he'd never done, let's call it, interactive stuff. Yeah, he had such a kick doing this stuff. I'm going to show really quickly something from his fingerstyle breakthroughs. So this is an example of Tommy teaching in one of his courses. So I'm going to roll it now. Is that okay, Tommy?
Yeah.
In one of his courses. So I'm going to roll it now. Is that okay, Tommy?
3.
You can notice today, thanks to technology, you're able to do a lot of cool things, including but not limited to what you're hopefully seeing on the screen, which is the tab, the notation, the cards are synced to the video. You can slow it down. You can show a fretboard view. You can loop a section and slow it down so that you can learn it. So the tool set for artists to teach is, a very robust tool set. So that's an example of Tommy teaching. We've also done courses with Daniel Champagne. We've also done courses with Christy. And, it's not unusual for artists that we work with to hear somebody say, hey, I found you on TrueFire. And they go to their gig. And of course, if they buy their course, that's sort of mailbox money.
It is.
You know?
That's it.
So career hack number 7 is you might not think you're a professor of music, but you have more to contribute and to pay forward than you probably think. And it's now one of the biggest streams of revenues streams that artists are generating on top, and sometimes even more than their revenue from record sales today. So career hack number 8 is social media mastery. We've talked about that. The guys who are chimed in are testifying that that's true. And so you say, become a master at social media. And it's not just YouTube, it's Facebook. It's all of it. You have to learn all of it. And whatever you have to do to get expert at it so that you can do it yourself, you take courses on it. There's tons of courses on not just social media marketing, but also advertising as well, like you mentioned. Or have your business partner do it. Have your mom do it, right?
Yeah.
So number 9 career hack, which we talk about all the time here, is to learn how to produce your own video content. So you gave people a little tip on where to go get lighting. You can shoot great video with your iPhone today, and many artists are doing that. You can light up yourself for $20 with some of the kits you can find out there. There are little microphones you can even plug into your phone. There are so many tools and gadgets for vlogging and self-producing content and selfie kind of stuff. But it's a skill that you have to learn. You have to learn how to frame yourself. You have to learn how to not just capture the video, but then get it uploaded or edited if you want to edit it. So, I would say a surprising number of artists that come in here now are, they have those chops, like, learning how to do social media. Well, what are you going to put up on social media? It's not just about text anymore. Video is the hot content today and probably will be for quite some time.
Well, and can I just tell you
please.
about making money for your gigs? If you want to see a great social media strategy and campaign, go to Daniel Champagne's page. Daniel is a master at, he's been selling out shows all over Australia, Canada, New Zealand with his social media strategy. And he does the most amazing things by getting events and making an ad on the event and then engaging and having people tag other people in towns wherever he's going to go. Hey, if you know anybody in Ottawa, tag them in this post. And he's selling tickets. He's got some shows 3 months from now that are already sold out because he's engaging and he's talking to people, and he had to learn how to do the advertising, but he's selling out. He knows how to do it, and he constantly is live streaming, Instagramming, even if it's just little short clips, just to say, hey, I was kind of working on a new thing, or look at my new guitar. He's there. Check out his page. It's really amazing. It
Absolutely.
really is.
Look at all the guys on Patreon that are doing similar things.
Patreon.
And it's not just, I think one of the big hacks here is, no, it's not just one thing. Do them all. If you can't do them all, do as many as you can, because each one of these platforms caters to a particular audience with particular preferences. And that's the key to today, which is multi-channel, multi-platform. It's not about mass media anymore. It's very targeted, right? So you have to be targeted in your marketing. Some more, let's see. Lucky D says, I confirm that house concerts are great. He's making a living out of it, and it's a lot of fun and pleasure.
Right.
So, thank you, Lucky D. Rob Byron says, places like Reverb Nation find you all possible gigs and licenses for songs for $10 a month. Why is this never mentioned? I don't know why it wasn't, but we just did mention it. So thank you for that. Let's see. Someone's having trouble logging into their TrueFire account. Sorry, I can't help you with that. Call the help desk on next week. Or fill out a ticket. They will get back to you. Let's see. String Theorist says, gigs themselves are not too difficult to get, but they often don't pay anything. How can you maximize and monetize that opportunity and exposure? That's a really good question, and I know we have some good answers for that.
Well,
you're not going to make a lot of money. Maybe it's even going to cost you money to drive wherever it is to do that gig and feed yourself or put yourself up. How do you monetize that?
Well, if it's a gig where they say we'll give you the door, then you got to get people through that door. That's your responsibility. If they say we'll give you a flat fee, $300 to come and play for 4 hours, well, okay, fine. Make sure you have a lot of merchandise, and I don't mean just CDs. Remember, CDs are kind of going away. You got to come up with something else.
That's right. You were always on top of the merch game. You were
in the truckload,
and still are. But merch is a great answer to that, and it's not about CDs. Okay, it's about other things. But the advice that we always give, right, is doesn't matter if it costs you $100 to do a gig. If you can walk away with 10 new names and 10 email addresses, okay, that you can add to your list, that those email addresses have lifetime value, way beyond what you can imagine.
Yeah, don't underestimate an email list. Just at your gigs, you should be getting the name of every person who comes to your show.
That's right. People still do email, and
everybody does email.
And that will lead to their, the Instagram connectivity, the Facebook connectivity. But if anyone came to your show and they stayed there towards the end and they come over to your merch table or come say hello, you're crazy if you don't capture some information so that you can connect with them later.
Yeah.
And that's how you monetize a low-paying gig, okay? Let's see. And thank you, String Theorist, for that. Gilbert Davis chimed. It was the Dixie Chicks we were talking about. And Rob Byron says, David Crosby says he doesn't want Trump fans directly. Let's see. All right, well, let's do this. I mean, number 10 career hack is keep getting better and better at what you do. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Well, exactly. And I'll use Joe Robinson as an example. Joe Robinson, when he was 16, came and stayed with me for 6 weeks while he was recording his album. And all I heard day in, day out, 24/7, all day long was thump, 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 thump. The guy just practiced all the time. Christy practices for hours and hours and hours and hours because, ideally you're doing something pretty complicated and sophisticated. You're creating really beautiful things and, it doesn't just come off the top of your head. You've got to work at it.
And Tommy, You know,
Well,
we've
Tommy.
been on the road with Tommy. He's always playing. On the bus, he's playing. In the hotel room, he's playing. Keep getting better at what you do.
And
It never ends.
not only better at what you do in terms of music, but all the other aspects of your career. You have to learn social media. You have to learn promotion and marketing. You have to learn what's going to make it for you, you know, and finding a good look for you, finding a good, creating a good team, all of the business aspects. And listen, the knowledge business is huge right now. There's a way to find out how to do everything you want to know. And you can do it online. You don't have to go to a college anymore to learn marketing. You can learn, you can put in, how do I market music? And 10 people will show you a course.
Exactly. We're just about out of time, but one of the other things that I think is really important for you to know, whether you're live with us now or watching this later, is Gina has crafted kind of I think, a very cool and very timely solution, certainly for young and aspiring solo guitarists and singer-songwriters that can't afford a manager, or let's say a manager can't afford to manage them because they're not making enough money to get a cut of. Yet you still need advice. You still need to interact with peers, some of them who might be right at your level, some of them a little more advanced. You might have questions. I mean, where do you go, okay? And Gina has created a very, very cool solution that is also, very affordable. So just talk to, you've got 3 courses coming out. Just talk to what you've got cooking there.
Well, what I've got is a live interactive mastermind. We're going to have a 4-hour initial live mastermind with follow-up sessions afterward. I have 3 levels. One is for, generally singer-songwriters and instrumental guitarists. Another one is for professionals who already have fan bases, who really want to, get together and really take things to the next level. And then the momagers, the business partnerships. Send your mom, your best friend, your girlfriend to this course, and I'll be working with them to get them set up to help you. And all of these are live and interactive. I'm going to start the booking process soon, but the whole idea is to do things in groups, so that not only can you interact with me, because I only have so much time and I can't do things individually, but I can interact with all of you and give you my advice. And I read every music thing that comes out every day. I'll tell you the latest Instagram thing that's come out or whatever. You can talk to me and ask me questions. And then the follow-ups, we'll follow up on it. So if you're interested in information on that, you just go to cprartists.com/mastermind. And then there's questions.
Cool. Tommy, would you be kind enough to add that link to the chat thread here? So one more time. What was that link?
CPR Artists.
So C, Cat, P, Peter, R, Rover.
Yeah.
Artists, one word.
Artists with an S.
Okay.
artists.com/mastermind.
Cool. All right, we'll get that into the chat thread here. And, a quick shout out, Gina, we've had people from Rome, Oklahoma, Belgium, Madrid, Destin, Uruguay, Mexico City, Sao Paulo, Brazil, Nashville, Kentucky, Rwanda, or how do you pronounce that? Rwanda.
Rwanda.
So there are, singer-songwriters, solo guitarists, and musicians, all over the world. And we really, really appreciate you coming in. We were talking, how all this came about is we were talking how, today, where do you go to learn how to manage yourself? What are the things that you should be doing? It's a question everybody has. It's very topical. So, if you want to learn how to manage yourself in this new business landscape, or if you want to learn how to manage others, because there's a lot of young managers that are getting into the business now. But where do you go? There's no school, there's no books you can buy. It's this may very well be a great way for you to get very quickly up to speed, because Gina's been there, done it very successfully, and has the T-shirt, as they say. So I'd like to thank everybody so much for chiming in. I know this is a little bit different than what we've normally done here, and I hope you found it informative. And let us know if you dig this kind of related topic discussions for TrueFire Live broadcasts. We're happy to bring more. Gina, thank you so much.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening.